brutality of this latest ISIS killing is truly horrific, as I've mentioned. CNN will not show that video. Instead, we've decided to focus on the life of that heroic pilot. However, it is important to point out why this latest video is significant. The burning of a body violates the tenets of Islam. Let's talk more about that with Dr. Jasser. He's the founder and president of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy and the author of A Battle for the Soul of Islam and American Muslim Patriots to Save His Faith. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Carol. It's good to be with you.
It's good to have you here. And I'd just like you to explain to our viewers why the burning of a body is offensive to all Muslims.
Well, absolutely. I mean, these savages are trying to enrage Muslims in the West, and they consider this Muslim pilot to be an apostate. So they do something that will sprout as much rage as they can. And they think they are God. They are acting and trying to create hell on earth in their savagery. And yet we as Muslims, the burning of a body is offensive. We do not do that. But ultimately, this is not anything that concerns them. They are radicalized militants who are trying, you know, for them it's a win-win situation. If they enrage the Jordanians and pull them in a ground war that will ultimately destabilize Jordan, remember many of the ISIS recruits come from Jordan, or if they fracture the coalition, as we see happening with the UAE, it will also empower them. And ultimately, you know, that we're fighting this jihadist enemy. There's two sides of that jihadist coin. One is the Sunni ISIS, Hamas, Taliban side. The other is the Shiite Iran, Assad side. You have to defeat both, and Muslims need to, the silent majority of Muslims have to wake up to defeat both of this Islamic State concepts.
So we hear all the time that this brutal killing of this Jordanian pilot is the tipping point. It's the thing that might draw Sunnis and Shiites together to fight a common enemy, which would be ISIS. In your estimation, is that happening?
I pray that it does. You know, the hashtag I am Mu'ath really says it all. But, you know, we still have a whack-a-mole approach to these things, and each video you think is going to wake us up and be a tipping point, but we still only have a short-term approach to this. It hasn't been long-term. You cannot, Carol, get rid of ISIS without getting rid of Assad. While he lets ISIS thrive and it needs America to bomb ISIS, our families, my family in Damascus and Aleppo, is being savaged militarily with a genocide by the Assad regime, while the ISIS militants are left alone in Raqqa, where this savagery happens. So you have to defeat both, and hopefully the liberals, the feminists, the moderates who are fighting both enemies of ISIS and Assad can be awakened to defeat both jihadists. And this is really what I hope, and what I think most Muslims I know want to see happen in this tipping point.
Well, I think what's frustrating for many Americans is the United States seems to be doing all the heavy lifting. I mean, when you talk about boots on the ground, you talk about the American military going in and fighting ISIS face to face. When shouldn't it be soldiers from Arab nations doing that?
Absolutely, but the problem, Carol, is that these Arab mafia governments, while they might be our allies in the short term, in the long term, they're Islamists who just want to be the custodians of the Islamic State. The Saudi government created these ideas and distribute them and fuel them with petrodollars. So the regimes there are not interested in a long-term solution, which would be the end of their organization of Islamic cooperation that thrives and creates these ideas that radicalize the ISISes, the Hamases, the Talibans over and over to legitimize their authoritarian rule. The end of the long-term really solution is the Arab awakening and liberalization of that society. So the heavy lifting for modernization has to come from Western Muslims. It's not going to come from the same old 20th century dictatorships that thrive over this yin and yang pull between military dictatorships and theocracy.
All right, Dr. Jasser, thanks for your insight. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
Let's head back now. You're welcome. Thank you.